You ever have one of those days where you wake up thinking it's going to be your big break, but by dinner you're starring in a live-action episode of Suburban Showdown? Yeah, that was me, Jonathan. Cade, civil engineer, serial overthinker, and, according to my wife Sarah, a little too confident I could outsmart fate with a spreadsheet. So picture this, first day at the new house. After years of scraping by in rentals, putting up with landlords who thought no grilling on the balcony was a basic human right, neighbors who would write you up for breathing too loud, and HOAs with more rules than the IRS tax code. But this time, man, I swore it'd be different. I spent 4 months combing through every county plat, cross-checking zoning overlays like I was, prepping for a Supreme Court case, trying to dodge every single HOA in the state. Found the place, brick 2-story, backyard for days, not a covenant in sight. And, believe me, I double-checked with the county clerk twice. We closed in a blink. No HOA, no committees, just us in the trees and the thrill of not getting fined for planting sunflowers. Sarah, she gets this little crinkle in her nose. When she's happy, she looked at me like I'd finally done something right. But just as the kids were drawing spaceships and suns all over the driveway, this voice slices through the air, sharp, condescending, like she's been rehearsing in front of the mirror. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" Out steps this woman, late 40s, suit so stiff it could walk on its own, wielding a clipboard like she's about to issue a citation for excessive joy. I didn't know her name yet, but, come on, we all know a Karen when we see one. She stomps up like she owns the block. "That house is under review. We're discussing acquisition for Creekwood Estates." I blinked. "Ma'am, I bought this house. Got the deed right here." She scoffs so hard I half expected her to faint. Then tries to rip a box out of Sarah's hands, Sarah's mother's coffee set. You know, sentimental stuff, shatters it across the porch. My blood boiled. I stepped up, told her to back off, and I swear, it was like poking a hornet's nest in pearls. Then she drops her name, Karen Sherwood, president of the Creekwood HOA, and I quote, "You just made an enemy." I couldn't help but laugh, mostly out of disbelief, and told her she was trespassing. She answers by dragging her key down the side of my SUV, hissing about rules here. You know what I mean? That's when I started recording, pulled out my phone, and dialed the cops, thinking, welcome to homeownership. Officer Maddox arrives. Guy's got the patience of a saint, but I could tell he'd seen a few HOA wars in his time. I hand him the deed, the plat, the whole paper trail, plus the video of Karen's greatest hits. He just nods, says, "You're not Creekwood. She's got no authority here." Asks if I want to press charges. I wanted to, believe me, but I also know how to play the long game. So, not yet, just get it on record. Next morning, I find a violation notice taped to the door. Chalk art, exterior paint, unapproved modifications. Plus, some cheap plastic barrier zip-tied across the driveway. Private access Creekwood residents only. Looked like it was made by a bored teenager with a label maker. Maddox came back, shook his head, watched the security footage of Karen sneaking around at 2 a.m. in a bathrobe zip-tying her masterpiece. This time, I pressed charges. He wrote it up, moving from neighbor drama to criminal mischief. But Karen? She went nuclear. Started sending official Creekwood letters through the mail slot, demanded I attend compliance hearings, fired off frantic emails. Even threatened right of first refusal on the property. My attorney nearly spit her coffee out laughing. I hired a surveyor, Marty, old school, blunt as a hammer, came out with GPS stakes every 20 feet, mapped that property line like it was the Berlin Wall. With HOAs, he says, bylaws go to their head. They forget what a deed means. So, I put up signs, private property, not subject to HOA jurisdiction. Karen shows up waving some red Sharpa map, raving about the expansion committee. I ask if that's her book club, record the meltdown, tell her she's trespassing. That same afternoon, I file for a restraining order. Judge signs it. Just like that, Karen's forbidden from coming within 100 feet of the house. Did that stop her? Please. Next day, chain barrier welded across my driveway, padlock, giant orange sign about violators will be towed. Officer Ortega comes, cuts it off, takes photos. I send it all to the state HOA board. Suddenly, an investigator's at my door, collecting videos, letters, Karen's fake maps. Tells me she's looking at suspension, maybe worse. Now here's where things get wild. Karen starts a smear campaign, flyers, on mailboxes, calling me a hostile infiltrator, claims I'm surveilling neighbors. My address isn't even in Creekwood Estates, but that doesn't stop her. Local bloggers pick up the story. My neighbor Greg gives a quote, and next thing you know, Karen gets cuffed, is trending on Nextdoor. She sends out her clipboard squad to inspect my mailbox. I film the whole thing, more evidence. For the harassment file. A couple days later, sheriff's deputies show up, zoning fraud complaint, courtesy of Karen. I hand over every document, court order, boundary map, and they walk away. Unimpressed. Karen tries to file an emergency injunction. Judge tosses it in minutes. Then she files an environmental complaint, claims my French drain is a threat to the local ecosystem. County inspector comes by. I show him every permit, every photo. He leaves saying, I wish more people were this organized. But Karen doesn't quit. She escalates. Fake fines, threats of liens. Forges signatures. That's when my lawyer files an amended lawsuit. Extortion, fraud, abuse of authority. The court subpoenas Creekwood's emails. Hidden in the threads, Karen coaching board members to send legal-looking notices, scare off buyers. That's all the DA needs. Next thing, Karen vanishes. No more meetings, no more flyers. DA brings criminal charges, trespassing, forgery, destruction of property, impersonating an officer. Day of the hearing, the place is packed. Sarah beside me, calm and steady, like always. Karen? She looks nothing like the tyrant from our first day. Judge lays it all out. 18 months in county jail, 85 grand restitution, barred from HOAs for life. State puts Creekwood under a year's oversight. Walking out of that courthouse, the air just felt lighter. Reporter sticks a mic in my face. I just grin and say, I'm going home. The one I actually own. Back at the house, I put up new cameras, another sign. Kids laughed. Sarah rolled her eyes, and the sun hit our porch just right. You know, I used to think the scariest part of buying a house was the 30-year mortgage. Turns out, it's standing your ground when someone tries to bulldoze your peace with a rulebook. So, what do you think? Should HOA presidents do jail time for this kind of mess? Ever had to fight for your little piece of the American dream? Drop your story below. Let's see where you stand. Because out here, justice is never a straight line. Let me tell you, you think once you've won, you can finally exhale, kick your feet up, watch your kids tear around the backyard without worrying some clipboard warriors about to leap out of the azaleas with a cease and desist. But life doesn't work like that, does it? You don't get some movie ending where the villain's carted off, the neighbors all show up with casseroles, and everything's magically easy. If anything, after that courthouse day, things got weirder. Around here, quieter, yeah, but also, like, I could feel people watching, waiting to see if I'd turn into the monster Karen painted me as, or if maybe I really was just a guy who wanted to be left alone to fix up a sagging porch and teach his son how to swing a hammer. So, it's the second week after the trial, early evening, sun dipping behind the oaks, and I hear a cautious knock on the door. Not a Karen thunder fist, but gentle, almost apologetic. Open up, and there's Mr. Alvarez, lives 2 doors down, always kept to himself, big on gardening, little English, but he's holding a pie. And he's got his granddaughter, maybe 8, shy as a mouse, hiding behind his leg. Turns out, he'd watched everything go down but never got involved, not because he didn't care, but because Karen and her crew had told him, in no uncertain terms, that people like him weren't really part of Creekwood unless they played by her rules. He hands me the pie, nods, says, family is family. And for the first time, I realized just how many people had been steamrolled by that woman's version of order. Over the next few weeks, little by little, more neighbors start coming by, sometimes to ask questions about their own deeds or how to handle old HOA letters, sometimes just to shoot the breeze. I end up spending more time in the garage than I ever planned, digging out tools, helping Mrs. Fisher fix her mailbox, or showing Greg, yeah, the neighbor who gave the quote to the bloggers, how to reinforce his fence line after years of Karen's community landscaping left it half-run. Every time I look around, there's this awkward, cautious hope, like we're all figuring out how to live together now that nobody's breathing down our necks about grass height or garden gnomes. But not everyone's happy. There's a small group, always lurking at the periphery, Karen's old inner circle, the ones who voted her in, enforced her rules, and loved the little scraps of power she tossed. Their way. They don't confront me, not directly, but I catch them taking pictures of my property lines, measuring the distance between my trash cans and the curb, sending little passive-aggressive notes about community standards. You know the type. It's like losing Karen turned their hobby into a vendetta, and now every little difference is a battleground. One night, Sarah finds a letter in our mailbox, anonymous, of course, ranting about destroying community values, warning that outsiders like us are changing the fabric of the neighborhood. She's upset, and I'll admit, it gets to me, too. This sense that no matter how much you win, some folks are wired to need a villain, even if they have to invent one. I tape the letter to my refrigerator, just a reminder of what we're up against and why I can't back down. And then, in the middle of all that, we get this twist. Greg, the most unlikely ally, tells me about a mysterious, adverse possession claim someone's trying to file on the wooded strip behind my lot, the one that Karen always insisted was community green space. Except, my deed says otherwise, and Marty, my surveyor buddy, had staked that line as clear as day. Turns out, one of Karen's former cronies, her right-hand guy, Mr. Wallace, is trying to claim the land for the HOA for the good of the community. Greg's caught wind of it and tips me off before the paperwork can even get to the county clerk. So here we go again, late-night phone calls with my lawyer, digging up survey maps, gathering old emails, and yeah, even more video footage. Because in the suburbs, if it isn't on camera, it didn't happen. This time, though, I'm not alone. Greg shows up with printouts. Mrs. Fisher brings over old HOA newsletters as evidence. Even Mr. Alvarez and his granddaughter come by with photos showing me maintaining the strip since day one. What was supposed to be an easy grab for Wallace turns into a full-on community defense. Not just me fighting back, but a bunch of us standing our ground for the first time. The county hearing's packed. Wallace gets grilled, tries to spin the whole thing as restoring order, but the evidence is overwhelming. The panel sides with us, officially marking the land as private and issuing a warning to the HOA. Further false claims could lead to dissolution. Walking out, Greg slaps me on the back. Says, didn't think I'd ever see the day. And for once, I feel like maybe I didn't just win for me, but for all the folks too tired or scared to fight alone. Back at home, Sarah's baking. The kids are running wild, and the mailbox is blessedly empty. I stand on my porch, same battered toolbox, same creaky steps, but it feels different now, like the whole block just took a deep breath. Together. But I know how this works. Maybe there'll always be another Karen, another Wallace, another battle over lines drawn in the dirt. But if there's one thing this year has taught me, it's that you don't just protect your home with locks or paperwork. You do it by standing up, by standing together, and by refusing to be bullied into silence. So, tell me, what would you do if someone tried to erase your name from your own deed? Ever seen a community get hijacked by folks with more rules than heart? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your stories, your close calls, your wins, your losses. Because in the end, a neighborhood isn't made by bylaws or boundaries. It's made by the people willing to fight for each other when it counts. You know what I mean?